Golf, a game of precision, skill, and occasionally a healthy dose of rule-induced frustration. The rules of golf are essential for fair play, but some of them can leave you scratching your head. Unnecessary penalties, awkward procedures, and loopholes wide enough to drive a cart through. You know the ones. Balls stuck in unfair spots, drops that feel more like punishment, and bizarre rulings that make you question the meaning of sport. Could it be time to give these outdated rules a serious overhaul? Let's dive into a few that might have you yelling "Fore" in the rulebook. Imagine this. You've just blasted a perfect drive right down the center of the fairway. Feeling confident, you approach your ball, only to find it buried deep within a divot left by another player. Unplayable, and frankly unfair. Many golfers believe this scenario calls for free relief. You should be able to lift, clean, and move your ball just enough for a fair lie. After all, you didn't cause the damage. However, the rules as written don't offer this option. Traditionalists argue that defining divot damage is too subjective. How deep does a gouge need to be? How far could you move your ball before it becomes an unfair advantage? They fear it's a slippery slope that could lead to players abusing the rule. Then there's the dreaded provisional ball. You've hit a wayward shot, and you're not optimistic about finding it. To save time, you decide to play a provisional, a second ball in case the first one is lost. But here's where the rulebook gets surprisingly strict. You must use the word provisional to officially declare your intention. Forget that one word, and the rules state that you must play the second ball, even if you find you're originally nestled safely in the rough. To many, this feels like an unnecessary penalty for simply trying to be efficient. Some suggest that clear intent, like saying, "I'm going to hit another," should be enough. However, others argue that this could introduce ambiguity and potential disputes on the course. Let's say you've hit a less than stellar shot, and your ball ends up on a neighboring green. Whoops. The rules of golf dictate that in this situation, relief is mandatory. You can't simply decide to putt out from the wrong green, even if it seems like a perfectly reasonable shot using your trusty putter. You must go through the official relief procedure, taking a drop and likely facing a longer, more difficult approach shot. This may seem like a needlessly harsh rule. After all, wouldn't allowing a simple putt save time and avoid potential damage to the green from a chip or pitch shot? The underlying reason for the rule is to prevent players from intentionally putting onto the wrong green to gain a strategic advantage. Imagine a green with a severe slope. A player could purposely aim for it, knowing they'd get a close-up putt to the actual hole. The rule keeps players honest and eliminates the potential for unfair play. Remember when the rules of golf underwent a major overhaul in 2019? One of the most significant changes was the introduction of the standardized knee-high drop. Instead of the old shoulder-height drop, golfers now must release the ball from knee level. This alteration aimed to simplify the procedure and reduce the likelihood of a ball needing to be redropped. However, the knee-height drop has its own set of arguments for and against. Some find it a bit awkward, feeling that a simple drop without height restrictions would make more sense. After all, it was an attempt to simplify things, wasn't it? Others suggest a range, maybe between knee and waist height for a bit more flexibility. On the other hand, purists argue that the knee height drop provides consistency and a greater chance of the ball staying in the relief area on the first try. The tricky question is, where do you draw the line with a simple drop? Would a player releasing the ball just a millimeter above the ground technically be in violation? Would this open the door to players essentially placing their ball for a favorable lie? The knee height restriction, while potentially a bit odd, provides a clear standard and avoids those gray areas. Let's move on from the awkwardness of the knee-high drop to a situation that might leave you feeling equally perplexed: the seemingly unfair consequences of a misplaced tee shot. Imagine you tee off and accidentally hit your ball a few inches outside the teeing area. Under the current rules, you'd incur a 2-stroke penalty, which seems fair enough. However, here's where things get a bit inconsistent. If you then fail to correct this error by teeing off again from within the teeing area before moving on to the next hole, you are disqualified. A disqualification for such a seemingly minor infraction? That feels excessively harsh to many players. This inconsistency becomes glaring when compared to a similar situation in the general area. If you play your ball from the wrong place in the fairway, rough, or bunker, you also get a 2-stroke penalty. But unless it was a serious breach, gaining a significant advantage, you don't have to correct the error. Why the discrepancy between the teeing area and the rest of the course? Some argue that teeing off from the correct spot is a fundamental part of the game. Going outside those lines should be treated more seriously. Others believe the two-stroke penalty is sufficient, and a disqualification is far too severe for a potentially honest mistake, especially at an amateur level. Let's escape the land of misplaced tee shots and dive into another potential penalty quagmire. In the frustrating case of the completely flooded bunker. Imagine this: you strike a beautiful approach shot, only to find your ball in a sand trap transformed into a mini lake by a recent downpour. The current rules offer little solace. Taking relief outside the soaked bunker comes with a one-stroke penalty. Ouch. Many golfers find this penalty rather harsh. After all, you didn't choose to land in a water hazard disguised as a sand trap. Shouldn't a free drop be the obvious solution? The counter-argument from traditionalists focused on the inherent challenge of playing out of bunkers. Giving a free pass for a flooded lie could be seen as letting someone off the hook too easily. They argue that even skilled players struggle with bunker shots while others can excel. So in this view, the penalty encourages mastering bunker play, a crucial skill for any golfer. There's also the option of maximum available relief within the bunker itself. This allows you to reposition your ball if there's a dry patch or somewhere you can stand while making the shot. However, this solution isn't always feasible, leaving some golfers feeling penalized for something entirely out of their control. The debate here centers on striking a balance between fairness and the inherent challenges of the game. Should bad weather automatically offer an advantage, or is the penalty a reminder that the elements are just another factor golfers must contend with? Let's trade the watery woes of flooded bunkers for a different kind of loose interpretation. The question of just how loose impediments actually are. Remember that infamous incident from 1999? Tiger Woods found his path blocked by a hefty rock, and with the help of some enthusiastic spectators, he moved it for a clearer shot. While technically against the rules at the time, the boulder was deemed a loose impediment, meaning Tiger wasn't penalized. This incident highlighted the potential gray area within the rule. The current definition of a loose impediment is any object that isn't fixed or growing and can be moved without damaging the course. So, a rock, a leaf, or even a discarded cigar are all fair game for removal. However, some argue this definition is a little too broad. Should there be a limit on how much assistance is allowed to remove these impediments? For example, if a player needs help from their caddy or fellow competitors to heave a particularly hefty rock, does that create an unfair advantage? The current rule allows players and their caddies to move loose impediments within arm's reach. Some suggest restricting this to the player alone, promoting self-reliance and eliminating any potential for outside help. Others champion a more relaxed approach, allowing players to use any reasonable means to remove the impediment, as long as it's done carefully and doesn't damage the course. Ultimately, the debate revolves around striking a fair balance between player responsibility and the need to maintain the integrity of the game. The current rules aim to maintain a clear line between legitimate assistance and potential rule bending. Do you agree with these potential revisions? Are there other rules you think need an update? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this exploration of the sometimes quirky world of golf rules, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more engaging content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.